January 3rd, 2019. Nancy Pelosi invited President Trump to address Congress for the annual State of the Union address, designating the date for January 29th. President Trump accepted the invitation. January 16th. Nancy Pelosi sent a letter to the President of the United States asking him to postpone his State of the Union address or to submit it in writing. So here are the peculiarities. Number 1. It's 13 days before the State of the Union address. This implies Pelosi did not anticipate the government shutdown to be resolved in the next almost 2 weeks. Number 2. Knowing the nature of President Trump, she most likely anticipates a refusal to this request. Number 3. Pelosi cites security concerns because of the partial government shutdown affecting the Secret Service and the Department of Homeland Security. However, she has not checked with either of those departments. Number 4. The shutdown is because an agreement for funding the wall for national security on the border has not been arrived at. The irony of citing security issues for government officials while ignoring the security of Americans is pretty hard to ignore. January 16th, 11:25 a.m. The Department of Homeland Security Secretary, Christian Nielsen, tweeted that both Homeland Security and the United States Secret Service are fully prepared to support and secure the State of the Union. This indicates that Nancy Pelosi spoke on behalf of those departments, and she was in error. January 16th. 21-year-old Hasher Taheb of Cumming, Georgia, was arrested and charged for his plans to strike the White House with an AT-4, among other devices. The strike was to occur the next day, January 17th. January 17th. Nancy Pelosi tweaked her rhetoric to now state that they should postpone the State of the Union address because the workers in those departments aren't getting paid. So here are the peculiarities. Number 1. All of Congress and the Senate are receiving their pay unless they've manually requested not to during the shutdown. So it seems the better response here is let's get this resolved now or withhold our pay as well. Number 2. Democrats vacationed over the holiday during the shutdown, including Pelosi in Hawaii, then spent the weekend taking chartered jets to Puerto Rico, lounging on the beach, and attending a play just days before Pelosi sent that letter. Clearly not that concerned about furloughed employees. Number 3. President Trump has in essence been working without any pay since his inauguration. He has donated every paycheck since he's been in office to various departments to better the nation. The president stayed at the White House over the holiday break instead of his usual family holiday in Florida, and even visited troops in the Middle East. January 17th. Nancy Pelosi and her group of 7 congressional delegates are stopped on the Air Force bus on their way to take a military aircraft to Afghanistan. They were stopped by a letter from the President of the United States, stopping all taxpayer-funded travel that was unnecessary until the government shutdown is over. The president released that letter shortly after 2 p.m. Pelosi's group was to fly out at 3. The president cites, "Due to the shutdown, I'm sorry to inform you that your trip to Brussels, Egypt, and Afghanistan has been postponed. We will reschedule this 7-day excursion when the shutdown is over. In light of the 800,000 great American workers not receiving pay, I'm sure you would agree that postponing this public relations event is totally appropriate." So here are the peculiarities. Number 1. Rampant reports indicate that Pelosi's entire family and other delegate families were making that trip as well, to the tune of about 93 people. Now, what would Pelosi's entire family be doing on a trip to Afghanistan? Number 2. Pelosi allegedly wanted to select the crew for the C-40, a modified 757 military plane. Why would she want to select the crew? Number 3. Adam Schiff was a member of that congressional delegation, along with Representative Elliot Engel and Representative Mark Takano. Number 4. The plan for that trip was apparently initiated about 2 weeks prior, which would place it around the Christmas holiday. Here's something interesting from Politico. In Afghanistan, government staffers were not necessarily thrilled about the pending trip, according to a person familiar with the planning process. A lot of people here were very put out about this trip, the person told Politico. Foreign service officers have been working overtime for 2 weeks on this trip for no pay, and Pelosi was set to arrive on a holiday weekend. And after the letter she wrote to the White House yesterday, it seemed like hypocrisy. Now, we know that Nancy Pelosi traveled to Hawaii for the Christmas holiday. It's been difficult to discover if Barack Obama was in Hawaii at the same time, but it's his usual MO. The congressional delegation trip was formed and set in motion after Nancy Pelosi returned from Hawaii. Number 5. Nancy Pelosi made a public reply through spokesman Drew Hamill, indicating the stop in Brussels was to meet with NATO commanders to affirm the United States' ironclad commitment to the NATO alliance. Interestingly, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo traveled to Brussels December 3rd through the 5th to meet with NATO officials. Number 6. While Pelosi denied that she was traveling to Egypt, it's kind of hard to believe that the plane's itinerary was an error as late as an hour before departure. Also, Pompeo was in Egypt himself just 10 days earlier on January 10th. January 17th. Hours after the president grounded Pelosi's flight, the First Lady and Barron Trump made a quiet and unannounced departure for Florida. This was observed by civilians who watch flight manifests and logs. January 18th. Nancy Pelosi attempted to fly commercially to keep her original itinerary, but accused the White House of leaking her commercial flight plans, thus jeopardizing their security, which was adamantly denied by the White House. January 18th. The President of the United States, Donald Trump, announced that he would be making a major announcement Saturday that would be broadcast live from the White House. January 18th. Donna Brazile tweeted the following: Madam Speaker today, President Pelosi shortly thereafter. Martin Luther King weekend is underway. Keep hope alive. So here are the peculiarities. Number 1, what is this? Is this a premeditated assassination? Why are we calling Pelosi president for a future event? Number 2, Martin Luther King was assassinated. Hope was part of the mantra of Barack Obama's regime. Is that some kind of a cryptic message? January 18th. Pelosi and her entourage are spotted at Reagan Airport. January 19th. Pelosi releases a statement in advance of the president's speech rejecting his terms. January 19th. The President of the United States spoke to the nation about his plans for border security and asked for bipartisan cooperation to begin immigration reform, build part of the wall in vulnerable areas, and get the government back to work. So, the peculiarities in those events are pretty hard to dismiss. The shutdown occurred shortly before Christmas. Speculation is that there was a plan made over the Christmas holiday to shore up deep state alliances in key strategic locations. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo has been at 2 of those locations in the last 4 weeks. So why would this entourage be traveling to Afghanistan with their families? And did the president quickly send his family to Florida in case the situation wasn't fully contained? They flew on the same aircraft that Pelosi was supposed to be on, which would have been fully prepared and ready. This brings to light the point that if the First Lady and Barron Trump's flight to Florida had been a planned trip, there would have been 2 aircraft ready on the tarmac, one for Pelosi and the members of her congressional delegation, and a separate aircraft for the First Lady and Barron Trump. Here's something to think about. 6 of John F. Kennedy's cabinet members, plus his press secretary, were out of the country when he was assassinated. They were flown to Tokyo November of 1963. There are eerie strains of conspiracy and plotting. When the Air Force bus arrived back at the White House after being turned back, it circled the parking lot numerous times, around and around and around. The press speculated that it was because the passengers on the bus, the congressional delegation, didn't want to face the media. But could it have been that they were concerned that an AT-4 might be launching through the walls of the White House at any moment? And they were supposed to be in the air or overseas or anywhere but there? Something
So
to
look,
think.
I don't know one way or the other whether they were really putting a hit out on Trump, but if you look at it like that, it does kind of seem like something was up. You know, Pelosi had just enough people to create a cabinet up in them planes with her. You know what I mean? Like, it just seemed like something very fishy was going on. And if it's not apparent to everybody that the New World Order, the globalists, hate Donald Trump, then you're either blind, naive, or you just don't want to believe it. You know, there's something about Donald Trump, whether you love him or you hate him, there's something about him that shook everything up. And that's why they are attacking him the way they are. You know, the media, nonstop, 24/7, ever since he was president-elect, before then even, nonstop media smearing. There's high-ranking Republicans that hate him. All the Democrats hate him. You know, there is just this movement to destroy Donald Trump. This whole Russia collusion thing, there's never been any proof, but yet the investigation continues. You know, they're throwing people in jail for whatever they can find if they're affiliated with Trump or if they were a part of the 2016 campaign. I mean, Roger Stone, they sent more FBI agents in to arrest, a 66-year-old man in his pajamas than they did to get Osama bin Laden. You know what I mean? Like, they are doing everything they can to intimidate and trying to do what they can to ruin this president. It's not for the betterment of the country. Look at the shit that he's doing for the country. He's doing good things for the country. He's cutting taxes. He's fighting for the security of our borders. I mean, no other president has done this. And it's these high-ranking globalists who control the media, who control the Democrat Party, who control the Republican Party, that are the ones trying to stop him. You know, did they try to put a hit out on him? Who knows? Your guess is as good as mine, but something seems suspicious about it. And you know, if we lose the president, we lose the vice president, Nancy Pelosi becomes president. You know, and Donna Brazile, who's known for throwing the Democrats under the bus, sent that tweet out. You know what I mean? So I honestly think that Trump has his own internal, intelligence network that communicates with foreign countries and, you know, looks into everything, trying just specifically to try to prevent assassination attempts, because there's been a couple assassination attempts already on him that have been foiled. You know, and just with the cabinet and stuff being out of the country, just the same way it was with JFK. And if anybody believes that JFK was shot by one person and it wasn't some big organized conspiracy, then you're either blind, naive, or just don't want to believe it. Because all the facts are there, and that's almost like a known thing now that they set JFK up. And JFK was the last president that went against the New World Order. Well, I guess Nixon too, but you seen what they did to him. Any president that gets in office that goes against the grain and goes against what the New World Order, the globalists, want to do, they find a way to get rid of them. Whether they kill them or whether they impeach them, they always try to find a way to get rid of them. And I believe that's what's happening with this president. And you need to ask yourself, why? Why? Because if you really pay attention and you look at the things that Donald Trump's doing, aside from his ego and aside from his attitude and aside from his Twitter feed, if you look at the stuff he's doing for this country, he's doing some really good things. For all communities too, of all races too. You know, so why is it that they hate him so much? There's got to be more to it than what they're leading on. More than just, oh, he's a racist or he's an asshole. You know what I mean? It's not a legit reason. You know what I mean? And it's just the whole race thing. I mean, this is for a different video, but it's funny to me how, before he was president, every single rapper out there had him in their song, and he used to be admired by the hip-hop neighborhood, and now all of a sudden he's racist because he ran for president. But when he was a Democrat, or on the Democrat liberal side of things, he was alright. Now he's a racist because he ran for president, because he is president. But that's for a different video. And if you look at what he's doing for the black communities, he's doing a lot. Check out Blexit. Blexit. It's ran by Candace Owens, and it's a bunch of black conservatives that are come together that are freeing themselves from the Democrat Party. And really, I don't consider myself a conservative. I've got a lot more liberal ideas and liberal way of life than I do really conservative, but I don't like the way that the progressives and the left is going now. I was a Democrat my entire life until last year, and I switched to nonpartisan because I don't like Republicans or Democrats. But there's something about Donald Trump where he's not your typical Republican, and he's obviously not a Democrat, but there's something about him that they hate, and that's what inspires me to support him, really. Because it's like, why does the New World Order hate this man so damn bad? He's got to be doing something right. He's got to be doing something right. And he's doing it for the people as well. So like I said, love him or hate him, look at the good shit that he's done. Don't believe what you hear on the news. Don't believe shit that you hear on Facebook. Go and look into the stuff yourself and just listen to the other side. If you're a Democrat, if you're a liberal, whatever, just go listen to the other side. And just hear what they have to say and look at the good things that he's doing, and it'll probably change your mind. So I'm glad that their attempt failed. Donald Trump really needs to watch his back. I really hope to God that they never succeed in trying to kill him. And especially if they kill the vice president. Could you imagine a Nancy Pelosi presidency? My God, we'd have open borders. Everybody be double taxed. They bankrupt the country just trying to give us all free health insurance. And the thing with socialism is tax the rich, give to the poor, playing Robin Hood and shit. But what happens when all of the rich people who can afford to leave this country pack up and leave and take their businesses and shit with them? Then who do they tax? Who's going to pay for everything? The working class. And then when they cripple the working class, then who pays for it? Them? Yeah, right. We'll all be given a food stamp card, a medical card, a microchip, and told us to fucking go show up for volunteer work to pay off this socialist government and socialist system that we're going to have. It's a bad idea all around. But that's all I got for this. I'll talk at y'all later. Thank you for watching the Occult Truth Movement. Please hit like and subscribe, and I'll see y'all later.